want to give first. We want to be women who give first. That means that we're not sitting around waiting for other people to give to us. We're waiting for her to initiate. We're waiting for this just to happen, but that we are intentionally giving to the people around us, and not just in the pursuit of friendship. Check this out. But that we are women on mission. God has a calling on your life. If you know Jesus Christ today, he has a calling for every single soul that crosses your path, that you are his hands and his feet. And how sweet and precious if along that journey of you embracing the mission God has put before us, that he would gift you with some of the sweetest friendships along the way. That lo and behold, as you're loving him, you look to your side and there's another girl loving him too, and a friendship is given. That is a beautiful thing, but we got to give first. And I think about a couple of traps I believe we can fall into when it comes to giving. And I want to point out these two extremes, if you will. Trap number one would be the taker. The taker, when it comes to giving. This is that person who may dominate the conversation, rarely asks about your life. Girls, this is so real in friendship. We will slip into this. We all love to tell our story. I love to tell my story, and I get a live audience right now. I can just tell you, captive. You can't go anywhere. But we've got to be women in conversation with one another, that it's give and take, that we are not just receiving, that we are not just talking and never stopping to say, hey, what is going on in your life? Tell me what's happening in your heart, and asking those questions to get into her world. And sometimes that requires thought. Maybe before you even go to that lunch, honestly, stop and say, God, I'm about to have lunch with my friend. Lord, just guide our conversation. What could I ask her about? You know, is there anything specific I could ask her about today? You will be amazed at how that might change your interaction with your friend. It's awesome. Don't rely on her to initiate. That's another thing about the takers. We rely on everybody else to initiate. We may receive gifts, but we don't give them. We may receive help, but we don't really give help. We don't want to be that taker. And I think in the worst case, I call it the moocher. And this is the trap that we can fall into, where friendships in our lives becomes a means to an end. It's getting me somewhere. Maybe status, maybe pleasure, maybe contentment, maybe financial. I've seen it so many different ways, where we begin to manipulate the people in our lives to reach a different goal, never stopping to actually give to them and to love them. Huge. Trap number two, this one's tricky. I call this the self-driven giver versus the God-driven giver. Now, this one's hard to recognize because it's totally different than the traditional taker. I mean, this girl gives so much, extravagant at times. But there's some symptoms, some cookie crumbs that can show us how this could be a trap if we don't watch our heart. Maybe sometimes we give even more than we can afford. But we give these extravagant gifts, or we go over the top. And if you really were to peer into the motive of our heart, it's because I want something back. I want you to love me, and maybe this will be a way that you will love me. And sometimes when we slip into this trap, you'll be interested to see that there are a lot of short-term relationships in this person's life. They just don't seem to stick. The more and more we give, the less and less it works. And another interesting thing I think about this person who gives and gives and gives is there may be a lot of unhealthy relationships in our lives. It's an enabling kind of relationship where we're neither one truly loving one another. We both have, something to gain from each other. Huge that we are aware of this trap we can fall into. And the true root of this type of giver is that we're trying to meet a hole in our heart and fill it with something other than Christ. And we're hoping that the more I give to you, eventually you'll be able to fill my hole inside of my soul. Huge trap. We got to watch out. We want next to hold the gift loosely. It is a gift from God.